Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of That's Wild with myself, Gareth Poole, safari guide and safari specialist for Painted Dog TV. Very, very excited to have you all with us this evening, particularly because tonight's show is all about leopard and leopards in general, and we have such an incredible show put together by this amazing team here at Painted Dog. We're going to be discussing the week's highlights. We're going to have a very exciting interview with Marine Servonnat, who is in charge of the Ingwe Leopard Research Project, which is being conducted on the Rietspruit Game Reserve, which is where we are, of course, here, but also the other surrounding reserves. We're going to go through some of my favorite leopard images as well, which I'm very excited about. We also will have the opportunity to have a look at some of our pack members' photographs and anybody who has sent them through to us here at the show. But very, very excited to be here and looking forward to the highlights reel, which is coming up next. So I think the first highlight, yes, indeed, it was a sighting that we had recently of the male lions, at least two of the male lions, on one of our live virtual safaris. An incredible moment, actually, where these lions were being disturbed by, I couldn't tell exactly what it was. I think it was a fly. It could have been a bee as well, but most likely a fly. And it's just so funny to watch the reactions of these male lions. They were really not impressed. They had eaten something recently, so they were quite fat and plump, and were just enjoying their sleep until, as you could see, their afternoon slumber was ruined by something quite entertaining to watch. These male lions, you know, the kings of the bush, reacting to the tiniest little insect that's buzzing around and bothering them. Look at how beautiful that mane is. My goodness. We are so spoilt with the lion viewing on this reserve. The coalition of 3 male lions are just absolutely gorgeous males. And I was very lucky, actually, to be a part of their introduction to the Rietspruit Game Reserve. What's he doing now? He's thinking about sleep again, I think. Indeed. Such a very special sighting that we had recently. And going into the next clip, which I've now forgotten what we were watching next. Ah, yes. This incredible moment that my very good friend Andrew captured. We had actually just concluded an afternoon live safari, and we heard monkeys alarm calling at Mamba Dam, which is of course very close to our camp here. And we didn't stick around too long. We had a quick look. I left, and Andrew decided to take it upon himself to go back and see if he could find what had upset those monkeys. And look at that, everybody. It's the resident female here, which, by the way, still hasn't been named. We are still waiting on a couple of suggestions. Maybe you can send through your suggestions, but ultimately we will come up with a name. But what an incredible moment that Andrew captured here. You can tell by the footage how relaxed she is. She really is becoming quite habituated, thanks to our efforts, but also obviously all the other interested shareholders here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. And we're very, very excited to now have a female leopard that is resident here in close proximity to our camp, that we're going to see hopefully more often. And you never know, we might actually get to see her with her cubs one day as well. So going into the next very exciting moment that we had, I actually wasn't present, was this amazing special moment with the cheetah cubs on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. Just so special to see these 3 at play like this, and again, you know, such habituated animals, so comfortable with the presence of the trucks. There's Mom busy scratching up against the tree, and the cubs, I think, went and chased her, and they played a bit of cat and mouse. So special. And sadly, 2 of those 3 cubs have recently met their demise. One of the male lions that we've just seen previously, unfortunately, caught up with them. I think it was 3 or 4 mornings ago, maybe 3 mornings ago. And so sadly now only 1 cub remaining. This, of course, is quite normal with cheetah. They have a very high mortality rate. Probably around 70 to 80% of cheetah cubs don't make it, where they, you know, share an existence with some of the other big cats. And so it is very sad, but so special that we managed to capture these amazing moments before that, that sad end to their lives. But what is really exciting is that there is still 1 of the cubs remaining, and that's going to make life a lot easier for Mom. Raising 1 cub versus 3, and I think she actually started with a litter of 5, raising that one cub is going to be a bit easier. So we really hope for the best with her remaining cub. Now, going into the next highlight of the week, the Painted Dog crew actually teamed up with Grant Beverly from the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and they went out into the Kruger National Park to go and spend some time with one of the packs that he's monitoring. And look at this amazing footage of these puppies. I certainly miss them. I haven't been able to spend a lot of time with wild dogs of late, and they are just the most incredible animals. Look at those ears. They always remind me of Mickey Mouse with those big ears of theirs. You can imagine the incredible hearing that they have. So I believe there are 8 puppies in the litter at the moment. I think there were 9 born initially in the litter, but one of them is gone, and the remaining 8, as you can clearly see, are doing incredibly well, very healthy, probably about 5 or 6 months old now, just by looking at this footage. And very excited that Grant Beverly will actually be joining us on next week's show, everybody. So please remember that. It's going to be a really exciting show. Brent is going to be interviewing Grant and talking everything about wild dogs on next week's show. So stay tuned for that one. Now, the next clip was something that, again, I got to witness on a recent live virtual safari, which was incredibly exciting. And if you missed it, please make sure that you join myself, Brent and Andrew in the following shows that come, the following safaris that will be coming up over the next week. But such an incredible moment, something that I actually don't get exposed to all that often and haven't seen too regularly, was an amazing moment with cheetah on the hunt. And it was the 2 young male cheetah that we'd actually found along the southern fence line of the Rietspruit Game Reserve. We literally got out of camp and they were right there. So really awesome that we have these cheetah so regularly in our camp or nearby to the camp. So we set out, found them on the fence line, and they were just resting in the shade. And then very shortly after that, they started moving along the fence line. And I think it was a warthog that they eventually caught wind of or had sighted. And so I just can't really see the highlight right now, but we're going to go into it shortly, and you will see everything as it plays out along the fence line as these cheetah took off after this warthog. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Painted Dog TV. My name's Gareth Poole, and super excited to take you out on a safari on the Rietspruit Game Reserve this afternoon. We've actually started with something truly incredible. We were very lucky whilst in camp. 2 of the resident cheetah came strolling right past HQ, our headquarters, and we've been following them since then, and they are just now on patrol, moving along the fence line here. Such a treat. We've been with them for the last 20 minutes, and we're going to spend some time with them now with all of you. But yeah, welcome, and very excited to have you all here. Just slowly cruising along the fence here. They are scanning and searching for prey. Oh, he's taking off after something. What has he seen? His brother's coming in from slightly ahead of whatever it was. They're moving fast. They're chasing. Go ahead. They're chasing something in there. Birdman, they're busy chasing down some warthog. I'm just going to try to keep up with him. So one of the cheetahs just lay down right here in front of us, everybody. I think they're trying to wait this pig out, but I don't know if they're going to be lucky. Incredible. Let's just wait and see what happens. These cheetah are sort of sticking. Oh, there goes a piglet. The piglet's just shot out the hole. No ways. So they've separated a piglet from its mother. No blood on the face of this one, so he definitely didn't catch anything either. Very difficult for them to really be able to use that incredible speed when they're moving through such thick terrain. Wow, look at this, walking right past the front of our truck. Oh my goodness, this is unreal. Welcome back to That's Wild, everybody. I'm sure you all enjoyed that incredible clip of the cheetah that we're hunting on our live virtual safari, which of course is sponsored by the pack. We're very grateful to them. We have 3 free-to-air live virtual safaris running every week, so please tune in to our social media to find out when those are happening. And you will then obviously get to share these incredible moments with the guides at Painted Dog TV. But such an incredible moment, so exciting to see those cheetah take off like that. They eventually then chased that warthog family, I think it would have been initially, through the bush, across the road. We caught up with them again, and one of those piglets took refuge inside a termite mound, and just amazing to then see that piglet obviously eventually lose its nerve, come out of the mound, out of the hole, the burrow inside that termite mound, with the cheetah chasing after it. We thought we were going to get a cheetah kill on live TV, but it wasn't to be, and I'm pretty sure that piglet is quite happy about that. But such an incredible moment, and we just, absolutely spoilt with these exciting moments on our virtual safaris here. So please, everybody, come and join us, come out there with us. We'd love to share it with you. Right, so what we have next is a very, very awesome interview that I recently had with Marine Servonnat. I've told you a little bit about her from Ingwe Leopard Research. She is currently in France, by the way, so we couldn't do it here at our camp, but she very kindly put out some time for us, and I interviewed her recently, and we're going to share this amazing interview with you, discussing some of her work that she's doing on the Rietspruit Game Reserve and surrounding areas. All right, everybody, very, very excited to have Marine Servonnat joining us this evening on the That's Wild show. Marine, welcome. So good to have you with us. We obviously are very, very excited about your project.
Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting me tonight. I'm very looking forward to the chat for this exciting opportunity.
All right. So, Marine, let's get started. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So, it's actually been a while. I'm in South Africa now, but I fell in love with the country when I was 19, first time I came to SA. But I moved to South Africa in 2015 after completing a master in conservation in Belgium. And this is where I met my partner, who is South African. And so I moved to South Africa. So it was a perfect excuse to come back here. And after having a master in conservation is very exciting. Not the easiest field to get a job in. Been in South Africa. We worked in the Philippines as well for 6 months, worked back to South Africa, and then ended up in Botswana for 3 years in the Kavango Delta. And now back again in South Africa, definitely home now. So quite exciting.
That's incredible. It's very, very interesting to hear that you've obviously worked in so many different parts of the world. What sort of work were you doing in those places like the Philippines and Botswana?
So in the Philippines, worked for like a French NGO that had just started, and we worked on the implementation of a marine protected area. So we did the whole biological survey on fish and corals. We also did a social survey to understand how much the fishermen were catching, what was the size of the fish, etc. And all in the idea of proving to the government that it was necessary to implement this marine protected area. So it was a very successful project at the beginning, and we published our results. And then so it was one side of the project, and the second part was working with schools on waste management. So we also sorted out all the waste from one of the villages we lived in, like really, really remote area. So it was one side, and that was great. That was a very big success. And in Botswana, actually, I was working for Great Plains Conservation. So as a camp manager in the middle of the Delta for 3 years. And this is kind of how everything came up together about starting Ingwe. Mixing the safari industry with my background in conservation. So absolutely 3 amazing years in the Delta.
That's amazing. I can only imagine how special those 3 years were in such a special part of Africa.
Yeah.
And the marine stuff, so cool. I actually love anything that's got to do with marine. I'm a scuba diver myself. My wife is too. We're very passionate about the ocean and protecting that as well. So, it's really, you could be very proud of yourself. Well done. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Tell me more about Ingwe. So Ingwe leopard research, how did that all come about?
So it's actually, so when running the camp in the Delta, then the guests were coming back from drive, very excited about all the sightings, showing photographs, making me jealous all the time, not going to lie. And then I was thinking there must be a way to harness the enthusiasm of the guests and all these photographs in order to start monitoring like carnivores or any type of wildlife, basically. And so I did a bit of a trial. I looked a bit online about what had been done in the field already about getting conservation involved with the safari industry. And I read one paper of someone who did a study with another company in the Delta as well. And what they did like a comparative study where they looked at, they wanted to study carnivores density, and they used camera trap, scat analysis, spoor survey, citizen science, and now I have a gap now, and another one. And basically what they realized is that the citizen science, so using the photograph from all the guests, provided like the most like thorough information about carnivores density. And also the guests were so eager to donate their pictures to conservation and to research that they ended up with like 25 or 30,000 images of the carnivores to deal through in just like about 3 months. And then basically that showed that it was very possible to get the safari industry involved, to get relevant information. And one of the things that sparked me the most is that it was actually the cheapest method out of the 4, meaning that, again, like conservation is always struggling with funds. I know it quite well. And
big time.
So basically I was thinking, okay, that's such a beautiful way to harness that power. And it's how the whole idea came up, basically. And then so I did some trial in my camp, where I set up one of the apps to record sighting, got the guests and the guys involved to try to see if they were going to buy into the project. And they were all quite excited. So fortunately, I couldn't carry on because we left Botswana because we didn't have a permit anymore. So we had to leave the country. But then I was also like encouraged by actually Quinton Martins who created the Cape Leopard Trust. And he came to the camp, and when I mentioned to him the idea, he thought it was absolutely brilliant and that I should really push it and try to get this project out of the ground. So came back from Botswana and started working on the whole idea. Took a bit of time, but here we are.
That's very cool. Just incredible and super exciting. And I, of course, have taken to your research and your project massively, and very excited to be a part of it. And, what brought me to that was obviously when you started looking at our immediate area where we are here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve, and obviously the surrounding reserves close to us, including some of the wildlife estates where people actually coexist with these leopards, which is amazing. Tell me, what is the focus of your research specifically here where we are in this particular area?
So I think for me, the first thing is to get people to collaborate. So what I've realized is that a lot of reserves are actually looking at what's happening in their own site, so like the wildlife estates as well, but there is no bigger view. So there's a lot of things happening, but not a bigger view. And what I wanted is to get people to start sharing information, and that we'll all go under one umbrella, so which is Ingwe. And then the first idea is to understand leopard movement and distribution amongst all of these reserves. And this can be done out of all of the photographs that are being submitted by private guides, by professional guides, by the residents from camera trap or from direct sightings. So the first thing is to study distribution and movement, and then eventually to get a count of how many leopards live in the area, because I feel that there's not enough focus on research in that area. All the work is really being done a lot in the Sabisan, in the Kruger, in those areas that are well studied for years and years, but not in the smaller reserve. They almost feel like they don't count, but yet they are essential to the leopards' territory and for them to disperse and all of that. So that's why I wanted to focus in the Rietspruit area, and also because I live here for a year and a half, so I knew, and my heart is a bit there also. So that's what it made sense for me to start there.
For sure. I mean, this is definitely, the same with everybody here at Painted Dog. this is our home. For so many of us, this has been home for quite some time. We have families that live on the reserve itself, and I think we are all incredibly grateful that we have these amazing cats moving through our area, and we want to protect them as best we can. And there's a lot of concerns with leopards in this area. Obviously, we know that the public roads is one of them. These cats venture out of the protected areas into agricultural land, into local communities, and we know that that's where we obviously need to try and focus our attention in terms of trying to protect those cats that move out of that area. And it all starts with trying to get a better understanding of the population we have, the certain individuals we have. What are some of the challenges that, if I've missed something, you may think are surrounding the Hoedspruit area, and ways that we can maybe ask, like you say, the lodges, all of the, relatively interested parties to get more involved. What is one of the biggest challenges that you may be already seeing in this immediate area that we could maybe start trying to correct or work on?
I think probably one of the biggest would be the idea. People who move to Hoedspruit, they move to Hoedspruit because there is so much wildlife and they are attracted to the wildlife. But then I think people need to realize there's a kind of like a price to pay, in the sense that you can't do everything. You need to still be mindful about the environment that you're in. And that means accepting to have leopards moving through your properties, making the right decision in terms of, are you going to leave your pets outside at night? How are you going to handle your kids in those type of area? So I think one of the challenges is the perception that some people have that leopards might be a threat to them, although these people have decided to live in those type of environment. So it's working a bit on, as I said, on perception against reality. So that would be one aspect, to make sure that, okay, you decided to move here. You have an amazing chance to be around that area, but here's the kind of like the cost or the price to pay, which I think is very, very small, and to be a bit more mindful. And then, because we sit in an urban area also, and the R40 that is crossing Hoedspruit, although I think there's only been like one leopard that's been killed the last couple of years, but like a lot of wildlife, I think, get hit, even if it's birds or mongooses or anything. And I think people need to remember that they are surrounded by reserves, and it means being mindful on the road, also by reducing your speeds. I was mentioning, for a bit as a joke, but why not putting speed bump with leopard spots on it, just to to get people to be reminded, okay, we are surrounded by wildlife here and we need to adapt our behavior. So that could be, for me, perception is one thing. And then, of course, I think snares is, of course, an issue, but it's an issue a bit everywhere. And I think maybe one of the ways to mitigate that is really to try to get the communities around that are potentially putting some snares out, and try to get them involved in this type of project. So there is something that I've seen in the previous trip, actually, where there was a lot of conflicts between the people and the wildlife, and the conservation organization, I think it was the Kwando Carnival project. They set up camera traps in those areas, and they told the people, if we have carnivores being captured on that camera trap, you're going to earn money. If we don't have carnivores, or we have someone walking with like a poacher or someone walking with the snares being captured on that camera, then you won't get any money in. And actually the results show that there was like starting to have a bit of a pressure from everyone, from their peers, because they wanted the money in. So then they started making sure that carnivores were actually passing through. So that's also one way maybe to get people involved in this type of project, to avoid having, especially snares. I think is probably one of the biggest issues.
I particularly love that idea that you just touched on now, how that worked with rewarding communities with keeping leopards safe. As we know, conservation needs to work with people. So that's definitely an avenue that I am going to pursue with you and with everybody here at Painted Dog, to try and get that certainly going as much as we can in the surrounding communities. I love what you also brought up in terms of speed bumps for the road. In a dream world, my family have always dreamed that we could somehow cordon off that road, have it boomed on either side, put in a strict speed limit. The general public are still able to move through, but at a much reduced speed, with no extra charge. It slows down their travel, because we only really need to protect probably about 50 or 60 kilometers. It's not going to affect anybody that much, but as we know, these things are not very easy to arrange, but it's not impossible, and we've just got to keep striving to make the best decisions we can and try and conserve all of our wildlife as best as we can. Yeah. Marine, tell me, just quickly, let's touch on how you've brought up citizen science, which we know is the most affordable way to help assist your project and to help anybody who's trying to protect these animals. How can people get more involved with that citizen science? Maybe you can just tell us a bit more about your app, and just ways of helping you with that.
I think first, before diving into that, regarding citizen science, there's quite a lot of debate about it, actually.
Okay.
With citizen science, you get a huge amount of data but are not necessarily as robust as if you were setting up a really strict survey. Mm-hmm. But I think for me, there's a good trade-off, and I think the advantage of citizen science is that you get people involved, and when you get people involved, and when you get their buy-in, then they will be more keen also to take on the right measure to help out in any shapes or form, and then they just get more emotionally involved also. So for me, yes, that's why citizen science is so important. And I know not everyone believes in it, but it's fine. We can have different ways, and that's all right. But I think for anyone who wants to get involved in the Rietspruit area, so the app that I'm using, it's called a Smart app, and it's been used worldwide for different conservation organizations. And initially it was designed to help anti-poaching patrol, but now there's also a way to set up the app so people can just record sightings. And anyone who wants to get involved, they can get in touch with me, but also on the Rietspruit Wildlife Estate Facebook page, but also on the Rietspruit Facebook page. I have shared a couple of times the link to get people to download that app, so anyone can really start getting involved, and wherever they go, whatever reserve they go to in the area, but including even the Kruger Park, they can start logging sightings of leopard and sharing. So they will be sharing GPS location, date, time, and a photograph, because I'm using the photograph then for individual identification using an AI platform. So that's the best way for people to get involved. So whoever wants to, they can also get in touch, but on a regular basis, I do remind people this is how to download the app, this is how to use it. And from now on, you can start contributing or even sending historical data. I receive a lot of historical data as well.
That's really cool. I actually didn't know that you took on historical data. It's I mean, I just think about myself and how rewarding and exciting it is for me. So very simple, easy to use system. I've been using it now for the last 3 months. Really, really awesome way for, whoever's watching tonight to get involved. You touched on AI. Can we just briefly discuss how you use AI to identify these individuals through the photographs that are submitted? Sure,
yeah. So AI became such an amazing tool for conservation. Basically, it's a platform called the African Carnivore Wild Book, and it was developed by a tech NGO from Canada called Tech for Conservation. And what they did, they put up a different algorithm that uses like the spots from the leopards to help with, the rosette from the leopard to help with identification. So the AI, you basically put like a batch of pictures on the platform, and the AI is first going to put a box around each image, detecting the leopard in the image, and then it's going to detect if it's the right side, the left side, the back, the face, or anything. And then it's going to compare all of the right side of one picture with all of the right side from the database. And then the AI is going to offer different matches opportunities, saying, okay, the leopard on A is the same as B or not. And then it's for me to do the final decision. So the AI doesn't do the final decision. I have to do it. But it gives like the most likely like images that are basically the same. So it's very exciting because it allows me to go through a huge amount of images rather than how we used to do in the old ways, was like 5 years ago, going through an ID kit that was not complete, that was full of mistake, all the time and trying to add like one image at a time. So now the AI is doing it for me, basically. It still take a bit of time to do the matching, but it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity. And what is very exciting about that platform is that first, there's another 5 organizations that are submitting leopards data for South Africa on the platform. There's the Cape Leopard Trust is using for the Cape Leopards. And Beyond also is using, Siafunda is also using it. So it means that if one of the leopards that I upload on the platform is also being captured by And Beyond, for example, we'll both get the information that leopard might be the same, and then we can decide to share information further. So with the more people that are going to use that platform in South Africa, the quicker we will be able to map leopards in South Africa and also get a count, actually, which is exciting. But the ACW, the African Carnivore Wild Book, is also used for the wild dogs, and EWT is using it a lot for cheetahs, also lion, 2 species of hyenas, and now they're also developing it for smaller species like the genet, the serval, and all of that. So it's extremely exciting how much can be done there.
It is. It's unbelievable. I mean, I can't even imagine being able to identify different genets and different civets. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Yeah. Marine, I know that all of your hard work and your project always requires funding. So, you know, I'm just trying to appeal to everybody to try and please help Marine out wherever they can. But I also just wanted to let you know that us all here at Painted Dog TV wanted to let you know that we are going to be donating 10,000 Rand to your project.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which we are very proud of and very excited about. And this donation is not actually directly from us. It comes from the Painted Dog Pack, our incredible pack members, and we are super grateful to them. And it's really an awesome donation. But also just want to ask people. Oh, good! I'm so glad. So am I. I'm so excited. I got informed today that we could tell you that news, so that's very, very cool. And
that's awesome. Thank you
I'm very
so much,
chuffed that Painted Dog and our pack members could help us make that donation to your awesome project. I just appeal to everybody that is watching our show tonight to please get in touch with us here at Painted Dog TV, either by our website or by just sending an email to info@painteddogtv. It's not just about safaris. It's conservation. We truly do make a difference. You know, we mean it when we say that we give back to wildlife and get involved in conservation projects. And you joining us on our live shows, you know, we come out here in this beautiful, pristine part of Africa, and your live shows really help. Sorry, our live shows really help with all of that. So please just get in touch with us. But yes, Marine.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I mean, thank you for everyone following Painted Dog. I mean, it's such. I feel like really lucky to be working with all of you. So I think it's amazing, and you know, like it's beautiful to see all of this collaboration also, and just helping out and giving each other's hands, and thank you everyone.
It's super exciting, and we are also very proud and excited to be working with you, Marine, and thank you so much for everything that you do for leopard, which, as you know, is my favorite animal. And thank you to the pack. I'm very, very grateful that you guys you people have put this incredible donation together towards the Ingwe leopard research. Amazing. Thank you, Marine. Amazing. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
And I'm sure I'll see you and talk to you very soon, but thank you so much again for joining us on the show.
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you for the invite, and looking forward to see you all again. It'll be
brilliant.
Amazing.
Thanks, Marine.
All right.
Very spoilt here on the Rietspruit Reserve.
How awesome is that, guys? Right past the front of our truck. Look at that, everybody. They are just unreal. Welcome back, everybody. Just so wonderful to have had that awesome chat with Marine, and we're just so excited here at Painted Dog TV to be involved with her project, and I am also incredibly proud to now be, a part of the team, and handing over that donation to Marine and her efforts. All thanks to the pack and everybody else that supports Painted Dog was a really special moment for me. So I'm very grateful for that. It's important for me now to try and do my very best to try and help with conservation wherever I can. And of course, we're obviously hands-on as well here at Painted Dog with sharing all of our sightings and whatever we can capture about leopards with Marine and help her with any projects that are up and coming. But very, very cool to have spent that time with Marine. So thank you, Marine. Thank you again. And thank you to the pack for that really, really awesome, incredible donation. Now, very excited, everybody. We are now going into the news segment of the show, and a really interesting article that we have this week was about a leopard, of course. It was a leopard that was recently caught in a snare, and everybody on the Rietspruit Game Reserve and also surrounding reserves got involved in this incredible initial capture of said leopard and then removal of said snare. Now, what was quite interesting, I actually had a phone call with Dr. Pete Rogers about the whole incident, and he said to me that what happened was that once they eventually captured this male leopard, they quickly realized that the wire snare had actually already come loose on this male, which is quite a scary thought when you consider how much pressure, how much force that leopard would have needed to use in order to get that wire off his neck. But you can already see the amount of damage that snare had done to this particular cat. But we're all just so incredibly grateful to Pete Rogers and Rian from Kai and Lovu, who assisted Pete in actually capturing the leopard, and they then managed to treat the wound, and this leopard was then safely released back onto the Rietspruit Game Reserve, and he will now hopefully continue his life without any sort of impediment. Obviously he had removed it himself, but we helped that process in treating that wound. But it is really quite a big topic. Snaring is a massive issue which we face right across Africa, but we certainly have a lot of it close to home here, and we are trying everything that we can with all of the parties involved to try and work together to try and remove these snares, working with local communities. Marine actually touched on ways that we can get them involved. It is a big issue, and we see it in places like the Manyeleti. We see it here on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. We see it in many of the reserves that are close by to us, and it is a big concern, not just with leopard, but all of the wildlife that occurs in these areas. It is a big issue, so we are working really hard to try and tackle that problem. We were actually discussing it earlier today that we want to try and do our very best at Painted Dog to work on removing whatever wire we come across on our reserve, whether it be snares or just some old cattle fences. We are going to do our very best to get rid of them. So a big problem, but obviously something that caught our attention with this particular leopard, and just really awesome to know that we have now successfully treated that leopard, and he is well on his way to carrying on his life unimpeded, which is really, really cool. So yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to be bringing it up quite a lot. It's something that I want to like I say, expend my effort as much as I can on trying to help with the snaring issues that we have in the surrounding areas. Now next, everybody, is a also incredible, exciting part of the show, and we're going to be going through some of our pack members' photographs that they have shared with us. Thank you to everybody that shared them with us. Very, very excited to have a look at what you've got. I have had a quick look at some of them, and the first one, I believe, is from Trefoil of a cicada, which has recently emerged. Just such a beautiful photograph, and I love the colors of those wings. It's just an amazing photo. Obviously we also get the cicadas out here in South Africa, and they're just such a wonderful little insect. I love the sound of them as we get into the summer months. I love hearing that sound. Very, very cool photo. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now the next photograph is of a scorpion. I cannot wait to go scorpion hunting with my son Harrison. Brilliantly captured under the UV light of the scorpion that's sitting in a tree. Probably a bark scorpion would be my guess. I'm not entirely sure of the species, but look at how brilliantly that little creature shows up under that UV light. Very cool photo from Klanza. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And on to the next one, which is of a elephant. Oh my goodness. When I first saw this photograph, by the way, and thank you so much to who shared it with us. I can't see. The screen is so a million miles away from me. I'm trying to figure out. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing this amazing photograph. So it stirred up memories in my mind of my trip to Mana Pools that I did with my wife several years ago, where you get to see these elephant bulls, particularly elephant bulls, reaching up and trying to grab the anapods off of the ana tree. A really, really stunning shot that you got there, which I think was actually taken in Botswana. Thank you so much for sharing that cool photo with us. Yeah, geez, that was a great trip. I'd really want to pools. Michael Fleetwood shared this very cool photograph with us, and I think there was a bit of a story to it. A snapping turtle, which he captured, I think, at his office, and it had got into a pen, but just such a cool photo of a snapping turtle, which can be quite a nasty bite, by the way. If you ever get your fingers anywhere near that little creature, you've got to be very careful with these turtles. I've had a couple of nasty incidents before whilst fishing in some of the African rivers here, and often you catch the terrapins that we have here in Africa, and if you try to get them off your line, you've got to be really, really careful. You've got to make sure you don't get near that danger end. But very cool photo. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Michael. Right, what do we got next? Rhinos from Julie. Thank you, Julie. Such a precious photograph, I would say. Such a cool photo that you captured of a mother and her little calf. Look at how tiny that little thing is. They always remind me of big plump warthogs when they're so young. A really, really special photograph, and just, yeah, so wonderful. Obviously we know how endangered these rhinos are, and it's wonderful. Every time I get to see a little calf, I'm always so excited, you know, that they're still breeding, and there's, you know, still more rhino coming out into this world in a very difficult climate with regards to rhino. Right. So, everybody, thank you so much again for sharing those amazing photographs. Please do keep sending them to us. We love to see your photos. We love to talk about them. But we are now going to head into a very short ad break. We'll see you very soon.
Dear future filmmakers, Africa is calling. It's time to reawaken your wild. Painted Dog TV is offering an internship unlike any other. Join our pack and see the world through a whole new lens. Live and work in the the beating heart of the South African bush and become part of our mission to share it with the world. For the love of wildlife. For the storytellers of our future. Painted Dog TV internships.
Welcome back, everybody. Very, very excited to get to this segment of our show tonight. We have collected a number of my favorite photographs of leopard that I've taken over the years, being a safari guide in a number of incredible private reserves close to the Kruger National Park. I'm a very lucky man, and I'm very grateful for the time that I'd spent at these amazing reserves, and some of these incredible moments that I captured have led to some incredible stories. So I want to share some of these images with you and just chat a little bit about them. So the first one is definitely one of the best photographs I have ever taken. An incredible moment with a female leopard in the Sabi sand. We had just found her on the other side of the river, followed her crossing the river. She walked through some very shallow water, but she eventually got to this deep channel that she, I would imagine, negotiates quite regularly, as it's obviously in the center of her territory. And I'll never forget that moment. I knew she was coming towards this point in the river, and so what I wanted to do was position myself and my guests in the right spot to watch her maneuver through this section of river. I didn't know that this was going to happen, of course, but just the most incredible scene, watching this female leopard launch across the river like that. It's amazing to see how high and how far they can jump, and not a very easy photograph to get, of course, so you need to know what you're doing, which is something that I can always help with my clients, is assist them with their photography. I have many years experience with photography, and certainly don't consider myself the best photographer in the world, but I know enough to get by and manage to capture that awesome frame. So it's all about really getting your settings right early, and for me it's very, very simple. I stick to sort of three things. I focus on using just shutter speed, changing the ISO, and obviously your depth of field. But to be honest, for me, you keep your depth of field quite standard when you're out on one of these African safaris. As low as you can go is normally the rule, but I really, really loved taking that photograph. Right, and so this particular image here is of a female leopard with her young male cub. I must have taken this photo probably about 9 years ago. So we first discovered this female leopard with a litter of 2 cubs, and the second cub is not in frame here, but just loved this moment of embrace between mother and cub. And a very interesting story with this one, because this particular young cub, which is a male, as I mentioned, was the only remaining cub in that litter. And one of the perks of being a guide or a tracker working at a lodge is you get to name these leopards for research purposes mainly, of course. And so I came up with a name for this particular leopard, which was Hanyile, which means survivor in the local language, the local Shangaan language. Hanyile means survivor. And I just wanted to zoom in on that shot for you and point out the spot pattern. You can see just above the top whisker line, this is one of the ways that we identify leopards, is looking at the individual spots on either side of the nostril above the top whisker line. So on the right-hand side of the image, you can see 3 spots, and on the left-hand side, you can just see 2 spots. Now, this particular male cub, he obviously survived this incident, which, by the way, was his father, which killed his sister in that litter. The mother had brought them back to a kill in a tree where they had been feeding, and they didn't know the male leopard had discovered that carcass. He'd taken over it. And when one of these cubs, the little female, decided to shoot up into the tree, the father actually attacked her, and he broke her spine, so she sadly died. But the male survived. He's called Hanyile. He's still a dominant male leopard in the Sabi sand. You saw that image that we just showed you now of him, which I captured recently. I took this photograph last year whilst on a safari with clients in the Sabi Sand, and it was amazing for me to see this male leopard again so many years later, now an established dominant territorial male. And you can clearly see the very distinctive wound that he has in the middle of his nose. He picked that up, I was told, from a fight with a different male over territory a couple months before I took that photograph. But just such a cool thing to, have been witness to this particular cub's survival and success now as a dominant male leopard in a very, very highly populated area in terms of leopard density. So very, very special. And if you look back at that photograph again of that male with that scar through the face, you'll actually be able to recognize the same spot pattern again, which is quite cool. You can see the 3 spots on the right hand side of the image and those same 2 spots on the left hand side of that image. So yeah, really, really cool to be a part of that. Well, not be a part of, but to, like I say, witness the success of that particular male leopard. Right, so on to the next set of images. This particular shot I took at Singita while I was guiding at Singita Sabi Sand, and an amazing moment. We were actually just out on a drive with my friends. It was during lockdown. We stayed at the lodge on site to keep eyes on the lodge itself and make sure there was a presence on the reserve during the hard lockdown during COVID. We went out on an afternoon bumble and heard impala alarm calling, raced down into this little riverbed, and as we got into the riverbed, we literally in that moment spotted this leopard tackling this impala, just this big cloud of dust as she tackled and suffocated this female impala. And I captured that moment just as she'd done suffocating it, dragging it out of the riverbed. We then watched her hoist that fully grown impala female into a tree, a jackalberry if I remember correctly, on the bank of one of the drainage lines there, on the bank of that river. And that always amazes me. I mean, obviously, absolutely incredible to have seen that whole thing play out, but also the strength of that cat to then hoist, 120 odd pounds up into a tree and make it look so easy. Just unbelievable. So really, really cool moment that. The next image, I believe, yes, look at this, everybody, oh my word. A massive highlight for me. It's the only time I've ever seen a female leopard carrying one of her cubs. A rare sighting to come across. My tracker and I, Chris Sabui, who I worked with for many years, we spent years looking for this particular female, found her, she became habituated, and then spent weeks once we discovered that she'd given birth to cubs, till we eventually found her den site. And I'll never forget this moment. We sat waiting quietly at the den, and we heard the little cries of the cubs. So we knew we were on the right spot, and then had the incredible privilege of watching this female leopard come walking out of the thicket with one of the cubs. And we followed her for about an hour as she walked across the Sand River, and then went and laid down that precious little cargo at a new den site that she'd picked out. Obviously had felt a little bit pressured in the spot where she gave birth to the cubs, and she lay down this little cub at a rocky outcrop just on the northern side of the Sand River, and just such a very special moment. And then, of course, this beautiful photograph. Always stop to smell the flowers, everybody. This particular female was also in the Sabi Sand, and we just got so lucky. This little cub was out on a walk with mom. They were walking along the road, and this little, if I remember, female leopard cub just decided to pause briefly and investigate the smell of this little bush. I'm not entirely sure what plant it is, but just such a special moment. Just loved that photograph. Loved that time with that particular female and that little cub, which survived, by the way, and is still one of the resident females in that area. And yeah, the last image that we have, everybody, a particular favorite of mine. For me, it's always about the eyes of a leopard. I love capturing the emotions in their eyes. They're just such beautiful cats, but look at how stunning that cat's eyes are. It's actually busy glancing up at its mother, by the way, which is up in a tree. Now, this particular leopard became quite famous in the Sabi Sand, and sadly, his life came to an end quite recently. He's the Tabangumi male, which I photographed when I was guiding at Singita. He moved out of that area once he became of age, which is normal. Of course, these young leopards leave the area where they're born. They get pushed out by their mother or their father. And this particular male went quite far north up into an area where snaring has become a massive issue. And sadly, he got himself caught around the back hips in a snare. We did, I say we didn't, but people that were involved did manage to actually capture that leopard and treat his wounds. But it sadly didn't end very well for this particular cat. He ended up becoming a problem animal at one of the gates to the Sabi Game Reserve, where he started attacking domestic animals because of the injury that he had. And this is the big problem that we face. Not only is an animal going to really struggle with a wound, but they become quite desperate and then become a danger to human beings. So unfortunately, that particular cat had to be euthanized. So quite sad, but I'm very fortunate and grateful that I got to spend the years that I did with that particular leopard. All right, everybody. Very happy to have shared all of those really cool photographs with you and some awesome stories of leopard. There are lots more, and I assure you I'll be sharing them with you as we go along on our virtual safaris. But we are just going to quickly cut to a short ad break. Welcome back, everybody. Very excited to now get into the Q&A section of our show tonight. And some of our pack members have been sending through some questions. I'm just going to quickly have a squiz and see who's on board. Hello, Barbara, Mary, Willow, Catherine, Marcy. So good to have you with us. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm very grateful to have you all on board with us here at Painted Dog. Hello, Cookie. Right, so let's see. Would be a dream come true if I could be an intern. Catherine, that's no problem. It's very easy. Just get in touch, and that can certainly become a possibility. Marcy says, thank you to Dr. Pete Rogers. What an incredible man. We are just so grateful to, well, firstly, be very close friends with Pete, but also to have him out here assisting us with all of the wildlife on the Rietspruit Game Reserve. He is an incredible man that does an incredible job, and he just gives up everything to help us with anything that's going on and to help anybody on the reserve when it comes to wildlife. It's just so special. Marcy, it was really devastating when I heard the news of the Tabangumi male unfortunately having to be put down. This is just, this is the thing, the snaring is a big problem, and I really hope to tackle it as much as we can going forward. Just trying to see. People are struggling to find the right chat. Yes, please, everybody, make sure that you download the Painted Dog app. It makes life really, really easy. And become a pack member, by the way. It really helps us with everything that we're doing. It gives you a lot of access to some awesome footage. And of course, the drives. Thank you, Becky. It has been a fun show, and I've really enjoyed it and loved being here with you all. Catherine, that's okay. We don't mind older interns. The more the merrier. Marcy's asked the question, how can we help you with the snaring problem? It's quite simple, really. Become a pack member. The funds that we receive will be used to put into the projects that we hope to get involved with, where we will be going into these reserves to remove the snares. And it's a lot of hard work, a lot of hard PT. You basically just need to get on the ground and patrol through the property. Obviously, fence lines are usually where most of the snares pop up, but it's basically just employing manpower to get on the ground and sweep patrols through these reserves, trying to pick up on as many of these snares as possible. So whoever joins our pack is immediately helping towards one of these future projects. Velma asked the question, how large is the area that you are traversing? So the Rietspruit Game Reserve is just shy of 6,000 hectares, so it's roughly about 14,000 acres that we can explore here. An amazing reserve, and it's incredible how much wildlife exists on this reserve, including leopards, of course, quite a lot of them. And we're really enjoying the time that Painted Dog is spending out here habituating these cats, and it's only going to improve. And of course, being ambassadors here for the conservation of leopard as well is something that I'm very, very proud of. Yes, Marcy. We certainly can. You certainly can donate more to the issue, and we'd be most grateful for that. We'll certainly share the information as to how we're going to tackle that issue, and when we do, we would greatly appreciate any donation towards the snare removal. Just quickly, also wanted to touch on the exciting series of books from Remembering Wildlife. They are going to be very soon launching the Remembering Leopards book, which I think is coming out on the 11th of October. And it is on pre-order as well, by the way. So please, everybody, that is an easy way to donate towards conservation of leopard. And of course, it's an incredible book. There's some amazing photographs that have made it into that book, and really awesome to add to your collection if you already have been purchasing the Remembering Wildlife books. 11th of October, don't forget it, Remembering Leopards. And please do us a favor and go and get one of those exciting books. Yeah, I cannot wait to get my hands on one, by the way. I'm pretty sure we're going to get one soon. Oh, thank you, Mary, for sharing that with us. And yes, a big thank you again to Marine. Just so wonderful to have spent that time with her, and very excited for things to come with the Ingwe Leopard Research Project. What other animals that will be introduced to the reserve, Velma? Who knows? We know that there's potential of some more rhino coming to the Rietspruit Game Reserve in the near future, which we're very excited about. Of course, they, being an endangered species, would thrive in an area here that is so well protected. So that's one thing that's definitely coming up, which we're very excited about. Wendy, yes, poaching and snaring is a problem everywhere. If anyone ever tells you that they don't have a poaching problem or a snaring problem, they're lying to you. I can assure you, wherever there's wildlife, these are just things that go hand in hand. As we know, people unfortunately destroy wildlife for many different reasons, and ultimately I think they're usually desperate people, people that are either hungry or don't have a lot of income, and so they just poach because it's a means of creating income or feeding their families. So it is very sad, but it is a reality. All of these reserves have it. We've just got to monitor it and fix these problems as best as we can, and also try and help support the communities. Awesome. Marcy has already pre-ordered her book. That is great to hear. Thank you for the wonderful questions, everybody, and thank you again for joining us. Such an awesome, exciting show tonight. Thank you for sharing it with us, and very, very excited to see you again on next week's show. So next week, Brent will be, as mentioned, interviewing Grant Beverley from the Endangered Wildlife Trust, and they'll be talking a lot about the African wild dog, or the painted dog. Very, very excited about it, and of course it is also World Wild Dog Day coming next Saturday, I think it is. So we're very, very excited about wild dogs in the coming week. Please come and join us again on the show next week. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you as well to our sponsors. Thank you to Rogue. Thank you to Led Lenza. Thank you to Dunlop. And thank you to Stanley for supporting us. We are very, very grateful for that support. Thanks, everybody. That's a wrap from me. I will see you very soon. Stay well.
So thick there.
But they go somewhere there.
Lines on live drive. And we head out here, which is